Hey boys and girls, here's your daily overview for our first math lesson in topic 12. You're going to be breaking this unit up into 3 lessons talking about customary conversions. And so that'll be our length, capacity, and weight. And then we will be doing, when we get back from spring break, some work with metric conversions. So go ahead and get your workbook out. Make sure you have a pencil, a scratch paper, multiplication chart, just to make sure that you are ready to go for math today. Here is our learning goal. You can read it with me. I can change from one unit of length to another. All right, here's our solve and share for lesson 12-1. We are on page 489. So please make sure you have your workbook out and open to page 489. Pencil ready to go, writing down anything that I end up writing down on the board. William has a piece of wire that measures 1 yard long. He will use wire to fix several electrical outlets in his house. How many inches long is the wire? Solve this problem using bar diagrams. So if you can think of how to draw out a yard and then break it down into inches, or you might go to feet first, then try to use that drawing. If you have another way to try to solve it, that works too. Okay, so I'm just gonna remind you a little bit about some conversions. So we have a ruler right here, and think about it, how many inches are in just our ruler here? Well, if you look at it, we've got 12 inches right over here on a ruler, and a ruler is actually a foot. So I'm gonna start to write these conversions down up on the board so that we can keep track of them while we're working in this unit. So we just realized that 12 inches equals 1 foot. And you might have heard that before, so that shouldn't be brand new news to you. We've used rulers before in science, and you've used rulers definitely in previous grade levels. So another thing that I want to look at is a yardstick. So take a guess, or you can kind of look. How many feet do you think fit in our yardstick here? 3. So what you're gonna find here is that, I have 12, 24, 36, if I'm skip counting by 12s. So we will have 3 feet equals 1 yard. And I'm abbreviating here. YD is the abbreviation for yard. Feet is FT. Inches is actually the only one that'll have a little period after it. The other ones don't. So then another little conversion that I can write down on here is how many inches are in a yard. And so you'll notice that I skip counted by 12s because there's 12 inches in 1 foot. So if I go 12, 24, 36, we have 36 inches in 1 yard. And so this is going to be really important information to write down on your paper. Make sure we're keeping track of this. I will, of course, be providing, as soon as we've gone through all 3 of our lessons, kind of a little cheat sheet for you to work off of on our review and quiz day. But I would go ahead and write it down on your page right now. And the more that we're writing it down, the more familiar we're getting with the numbers. Okay, so then let's take a look back at the problem. They wanted us to draw bar diagrams, which we can do. So our largest unit of measure is a yard, and that's what they're starting with. So let's go ahead and draw 1 yard. Okay, and so then if I'm going to break that down into feet, I can come up here and take another look. Okay, well, I have 3 feet in 1 yard. So my next one is going to be the same size for my bar diagram. You can kind of think of those like fraction strips when you're drawing these. And we're going to break it into thirds. And so we'll have 1 foot, 1 foot, and 1 foot. Okay. And so each of those feet are made up of 12 inches. So we have 12 inches, because I just don't want to draw out, put that in the wrong spot. I don't want to draw out all the little tiny lines on there. That seems a little much. So then if we want to know how many inches long is the wire, I can break it down into my 3 sets of 12. 12 times 3, if I skip count, 12, 24, 36 inches. There we go. And that's all we're doing for that one. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at our essential question and our visual learning bridge. I'm going to leave those little conversions up top. I would rewrite them up at the top of your page as we're working through this so that you don't forget. So here's our essential question. How do you change from one unit of length to another? Let's go ahead and read through this little problem that they're gonna help us visualize down below. Some frogs can jump 11 1/4 feet. What are some other ways to describe the same distance? So they're asking us to go from feet probably to inches and yards. Miles is the largest unit of measure with our length in the customary system, but you need a lot of feet, a lot of yards, and that's what we're going to look at right here. So 1 foot is 12 inches. We've got that up there. 1 yard is 3 feet and also 36 inches. So we've got our 36 inches is 1 yard, 3 feet is 1 yard. So then they've also written 1 mile. And that is equal to 1,760 yards and 5,280 feet. So we've got 5,280 feet equals 1 mile. And we also have 1,760 yards equals 1 mile. And you would think I would have that memorized a little bit better, but sometimes I switch around the numbers a little bit. Okay, so you can see we've got 0 all the way over to, they've got 12 feet listed on here so that they can go to 11 1/4 right about there. So to change larger units to smaller units, we have to multiply. Here's where I kind of like to bring in another thing for you guys to write down. And so I list our units of measure from smallest to biggest. So our smallest unit of measure is an inch. And then we have a foot, and then we have a yard, and then we have a mile. Okay? When I go from a larger unit to a smaller unit, I need to multiply. So put your multiplication symbol. So if I go from yards to feet, if I trace my pencil up from yards to feet, I need to multiply. Up from miles to feet, from miles to inches. So if I'm moving up, I've got to multiply. Now, if I go from inches to feet, inches to yards, inches to miles, feet to yards, yards to miles, anything going down from a smaller unit of measure to a larger unit of measure, because more of them will be in there, so our number will be smaller, I'm going to divide. This guy can be really helpful, and I'll put it on the little sheet as well, but just to help guide you through these problems, when to multiply, when to divide. Really thinking through, moving from a larger unit of measure to a smaller, multiply, smaller unit of measure to a larger, divide. Every time you do it so that we can kind of get in the habit of knowing what to do there. So we've got 11 1/4 feet to inches. So watch, I'm going to go feet to inches. I went up. So I know I need to multiply. It's kind of how you can use that. And so they're going to multiply it by how many inches are in a foot. So multiply by what you're moving up to. Well, if I look up here, how many inches are in a foot? I've got 12 inches in 1 foot. So they're going to multiply it by 12. They have 11 1/4, and they're using box method here, and they're multiplying by 12. So 12 times 11 gave them 132, and then 12 times 1/4 gave them an answer of 3. They find a fourth of 12. So then they're going to take their 132 and their 3. They add it together, and they got 135. So 11 1/4 feet is 135 inches. So you'll notice they didn't just give up on the fraction. They found, if you have a fourth of a foot, how many inches is that? Okay, so to change smaller units to larger units, divide. So now we're going from feet to yards, and they've got this little feet left over. So what that is going to tell me is that it's not going to be an even switch, and I'm going to have to have a little bit of leftover. It's like what your remainder would be is still in feet, because that's what we're starting in. So if we take our 11 and we're going feet to yards, look, I went down, so I know I need to divide. Smaller unit of measure to a larger, got to divide. So 3 feet is equal to 1 yard. So they're going to take their 11 and divide it by 3. So if I do 11 divided by 3, I can skip count by 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12, too big, went over. So I can only go in 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. When I subtract 11, take away 9, I have 2 left over. So my remainder is 2, and remember, this is still going to be in feet. This part of it is in yards. So we end up getting 3 yards and 2 feet left over, which makes sense because we were only one away from putting it in another time, and that's why we've got that 2 feet out of the 3 feet that we need to move up to another yard. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at some practice problems. Make sure you have these guys down on your in your workbook or on some scratch paper. Okay, oh, whoopsies. So number 1 says, if you want to convert yards to feet, what operation would you use? So we're going from yards, a larger unit of measure, to a smaller unit of measure. Think about what you would do. You would multiply. We're going to have more feet than we would yards because they're smaller. So write down your multiply there. Okay, if we convert from feet to miles, so going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, what operation would you use? So I'm going to have less of the miles because it's a larger unit. So what are you going to do? Divide. So again, if I go from feet to miles, I'm going to divide. What are some tools you could select to measure length? Okay, what did I talk about at the beginning of the video? What did I hold up? What could you use to measure length? Say ruler. You could say yardstick. Tape measure maybe. Kind of squished together there, sorry. So ruler, yardstick, tape measure. That's all I got. Okay, now we're going to convert each unit of length. So for number 4, we're going from feet to yards. So if I'm going from feet to yards, I'm going down. That means I'm going to divide. So I need to divide 9 feet, or 9 divided by how many feet are in a yard. So I can come up here. How many feet are in 1 yard? 3. So if I do 9 divided by 3, or you can set it up like this if you like that better. How many times will 3 go into 9 without going over? Well, 3 times. So 9 feet equals 3 yards. Okay, let's go ahead and try another one. They kind of make it a little bit harder almost right away. So let's go ahead and look at number, kind of taking up too much room here. Number 5. There. So I have 8 feet 7 inches, 2 inches. So I already have part of it in inches. You're going to have to take your 8 feet and switch that to inches. So I want you to go ahead and try that and then add your 7 inches to it. Put your answer in the box. Okay, let's go through it together. So I'm going to have 8 and I'm going from feet to yards. I'm going down. Oh no, feet to inches. Sorry, feet to inches. I think I looked at that. Feet to inches, so I need to multiply. I was going to say, that doesn't make sense. So go slow, make sure you're not rushing through and making mistakes. So we got to do 8 times 12. If that is not something that you know the answer to off the top of your head, go ahead and write it out. Pull up your multiplication chart. Try to work through those numbers so that we're making more sense of them and they're sticking in our brains a little better. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 1 is 8. Plus 1 more is 9. You get 96. But I'm not done yet. I don't just throw out these 7 inches. I have to add them back into it. So we have to do 96 plus 7. Well, an easy way to add here, I can take 6 and 6 would be 12. So 1 more than that, because 7 is 1 more, is 13. Carry your 1 over, and we get 103 inches here. Let me fill that in. Okay, I want you to go ahead and try number 6. We're going from feet to inches. All right, let's chit chat through it. So we've got 5.5 feet. I'm going to break down my 5 first. If I'm going from feet to inches, I'm going to do the same thing that I had to do over here. I have to multiply it by 12. So 5 times 12. Again, if you don't have your facts down super well, you can pull out that multiplication chart. You can just set it up off to the side. So we can do 12 times 5 pretty quick. And we get 60. And that's actually a fast fact that I know because we end up doing that one a lot. So then I have 60 inches for my 5, but I'm not done yet. Half a foot would be how many inches? So if you think about your ruler, how long would half a ruler be? 6 inches. So I've got to do my 60 plus 6, and I get 66 inches. Let's try one more. Go ahead and try number 7. Okay, So the first thing we have to do is to decide, are we going to multiply or divide? We're going from inches to yards. So if I go from inches to yards, I go down. I'm going from a smaller unit of measure to a larger unit of measure. I'm going to have less of the yards, even though it's the same distance. So I know I need to divide. So we're going to have to take 288 and divide it by how many inches are in a yard. Well, we've got that right up here. We listed it because we were taking notes really well. So we could put our 36 into 288, which is not going to go in super friendly, is it? Nope. So we'll have to do a little bit of work here. So remember, we divide in. 36 won't go into 2, won't go into 8. I erase that little line. But it will go into 288. Remember, we can use our cover-up method to start to put it into. So if I cover up my 6 and my 8, how many times would 3 go into 28 without going over? Well, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27 would be 9 times. But 36 is a little bit closer to 40 because it's on that like higher end of it. So I might try 8 times to start us off. So let's do 36 times 8. 6 times 8 is 48. 3 times 8 is 12, plus 4 more is 28. There we go. And it went in exactly, because it wasn't like 31 or 32. I was thinking we would need to go down 1 since it's 36 and getting closer to 40. So we get our 288, we subtract, and it zeroes out. So it equals 8 yards. Okay, we'll practice more in group. Great job, superstars.